news. But right now, let's start with the kind of the big story of the week, I would say, and that is Jaxon Smith-Njigba's new extension. And we know that they're also going to try to extend Devon Witherspoon. So we could see another big extension coming out of Seattle. We haven't seen that yet, but that is a possibility. Jaxon Smith-Njigba was signed to a 4-year, $168.6 million deal that makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. That averages out to $42.15 million per year and includes $120 million in guarantees. Now, something else to mention is Jaxon Smith-Njigba still has 2 more years left on his rookie deal. So he's still got, they can spread that out a little bit. Still got some averages that doesn't kick in for a few more years. So they kicked those hits down the line a little bit before they're going to see those big hits from all that money that they guaranteed. However, I do have some concerns about that contract, and I want to be very careful about how I put this because I don't want this to get clipped. So I don't know that I agree with this, but it's a similar sentiment, I would say. So Chris said JSN is a younger version of Cooper Kupp, not a top 5 wide receiver in the league. I don't know, and that's part of my concern. So I do think JSN is a very good receiver. I think he's a very talented receiver. I think he's a great route runner. Obviously, he was a top wide receiver last year. He was the top wide receiver last year, one offensive player of the year. But that being said, when Justin Jefferson, when Jamar Chase, when those guys received their deals to be these highest paid receivers, received these blockbuster deals, they had been top wide receivers going back and forth, for multiple seasons. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering how it all went down correctly, Jamar Chase had gotten the Triple Crown before his extension. I think it was the season before his extension because I think that's part of why he was so expensive. But I don't know, and I would be nervous if I was the Seahawks JSN has had one really, really good season. He's had one season where he led the NFL in receiving yards. He's had one season where, he really kind of stood out. In his rookie year, he didn't cross 1,000 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, which, okay, rookie year. 2024, he had a good season. Good, nothing. He had 6 touchdowns, 1,130 yards, nothing to scoff at. But to look at the production of the Seahawks and look at where they're at, and remember, this contract that they've given him doesn't even kick in for another 2 years. So do you think that JSN is going to continue to be a top level wide receiver in the NFL for that time frame? Do you think that he is going to be consistently competing with Jamar Chase, with Justin Jefferson, with AJ Brown, or whoever else you want to put into that conversation for those top spots? Do we know that for sure, that he can be that level of reliability? I don't know. I don't know that I believe that yet. I think he has the potential. Well, clearly he has the potential to, right? Let's see. What does Chris say? Jefferson and Chase get double or even triple teamed and still put up crazy numbers. Jefferson has had some awful quarterbacks. That's true. Fair point to Justin Jefferson. He has had not only pretty bad quarterbacks, he's had inconsistency at the quarterback position. Even if you want to somehow argue that he hasn't had awful quarterbacks, I think I would tend to disagree with that as well. But uh, he just, yeah, he's had inconsistency, which goes, that's huge when you're a receiver. Ooh, this might be a hot take. He won't break 1,200 yards in the next 3 seasons. And maybe he won't. He's still got Sam Darnold throwing to him. Hopefully they bring in some help for him. But also, if they bring in more help for him, then his targets drop, right? So he had 119 receptions for 1,107. What the heck just came out of my mouth? He had 119 receptions for 1,793 yards. By comparison, we'll just use Justin Jefferson because I don't really feel like being biased. Justin Jefferson in a down year had 84 receptions for 1,048 yards. And that was with J.J. McCarthy throwing at him and Carson Wentz and Max Brosmer. So clearly like some rough quarterbacks. 2024, he had 103 receptions for 1,533 yards. So Justin Jefferson, though, those numbers are lower, but Justin Jefferson, even in his rookie year, didn't have less than 1,000 yards. To be clear, he's never had less than 60 receptions in a season. Let's look at Jamar Chase, just because I do think he is comparable. We won't. So Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase again has never had less than 60. Actually, he's never had less than 80 receptions, and that's with T. Higgins on it. He's always been on the team with T. Higgins, so keep that in mind. And then he has had 1,000 yards every season of his career as well. He had 1,400 yards his rookie year. Sophomore year, we saw a slump. He only had 1,046. I think there were some injuries there. Let's see how many games he played real quick. But he just, I feel like these are two very different types of receivers. Yeah, he only played 12 games in 2022. But there's a difference, right? There's a clear difference between what we've seen from Jaxon Smith-Njigba to this point and what we've seen with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and these other high-paid wide receivers to this point. Now, yeah, that's what I thought. He missed some games. It looks like he missed 5 that year. Chase also had a Hall of Fame quarterback his whole career. Yeah, I'm not arguing that Chase is better than Jefferson or anything like that right now. I'm showing the stats and how consistent he's been. We don't need to get into that. But I am framing that you said Joe Burrow is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Anyway, I just would be concerned that he's not going to keep up with that consistency. He's not going to put up those numbers. Now, to that same end, they did extend him early. They've extended him while he still has years left on his rookie deal, which is what we wanted the Bengals to do with Justin Jefferson or with Jamar Chase. I'm sure the Vikings wanted to do it with Justin Jefferson. And, there is a chance that even if he doesn't live up to this hype, this contract looks really good. This contract ends up, just aging really well. For example, the T. Higgins contract, you guys remember when T. Higgins got extended? Same year as Justin Jefferson, people were saying that was a crazy contract. They were saying, wow, this guy just got paid way too much. Bengals overpaid him. They're putting too much money into these two players. T. Higgins is making the same right now as Alec Pierce with his extension. He's making $1 million more in total value. He's making more than Jalen Waddle, but he's making less than Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, Garrett Wilson currently, DK Metcalf. So I think we could definitely argue that T is better than, these are in the wrong order. I don't know. These are in I'm confused. Oh, these are the average per year. Okay. So yeah, he's making more average per year or less average per year than Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk. The total values threw me off. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf. He's making less than all those guys. I think you could argue that T. Higgins is better in his role. I think they're different types of receivers than Terry McLaurin. And T. Higgins is also much younger. Definitely better than Brandon Ayuk. I think you could make the argument, again, not saying 100% sure but you could, in his role, I think T. Higgins is better than DK Metcalf, or at least what he was last year with the Steelers, which is the contract they gave him. I think the argument could be made. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying it's obvious. I'm not saying it's clear. The Alec Pierce deal is crazy to me. Yeah, it's a lot of money. I kind of get why they paid that much. It's a little high for me as well, though. But to that point, like T. Higgins is making, you're getting T. Higgins or Alec Pierce. Who would you rather have right now? For me, T. Higgins. T. Higgins or Jalen Waddle. Who would you rather have? It's close, but I think right now I'd rather have T. Higgins. Why pay him when they had Pittman? I think so. We'll transition. Let's do a transition then, because that's a different topic, I think. But that's just my concern with the Jaxon Smith-Njigba contract. Hopefully it works out for Seahawks fans, but let me know what you think below.